All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome back. Happy Monday. How's it going, Jennifer?
Great.
Nice. Today we're doing. That was the quickest intro ever. Today,
Let's go.
let's get this over with. Today we are talking a little bit about, or sort of a follow up to the meetings that we ran, and we talked about them. It was last week, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we talked about what we were going to do, and then we actually had the meetings. Sorry, trying to get this. I need a desk. We haven't been putting out any video content because my head is like off to the side here.
Mhm.
Nothing reaches. And I need a new setup. I think it's time. The people deserve it.
Mm.
So, anyways, we're going to follow up on that. But first, we'll start with an opening thought, opening take. What do you got? I have a whole bunch. I started making a new list.
All right, I'll go because I think I got something. So most of you guys know we have 3 children, and I remember after we had our first kid, this like revelation came to me, like, whoa, we have to like fight for our kids until like they're old enough to fight for themselves, right? And whether you're good at that or not, you soon realize like that's the hat you just have to wear, or everything's gonna sink. So this weekend we came into our daughter. This is her 3rd year doing a play with the school. This year was Beauty and the Beast. And they kind of went into the weekend, they're just a little underprepared. And we knew that. And some of her scenes got missed in a dress rehearsal. So I addressed it the next night. We went in early, sat down with some people, like make sure these scenes aren't getting missed because she was upset. And some got missed again. And so as a parent, you're like, how much can I facilitate this? How much can I speak up? I also don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. I don't want anyone to get like mad that I'm speaking up. Anyway, had to finally send an email that put my nerves at ease so I could sleep that night, so I could do the best for our daughter. And I came from a place, Todd taught me this, a place from help. Rather than a place of being frustrated, I came from a place where I was like, how can I help make sure for not even my daughter, it's a group of 12 of them, that these girls, this group gets on for all their scenes and doesn't miss anything. Do you want me backstage? Can I do this? How can you put me in a place that I can help you? And I think first it came from a great, like, I got a response immediately. We're going to make this happen. We're figuring it out. I'm going to meet with you guys tomorrow and I'm going to talk to your daughter and we're going to make sure. And so when I went for drop off the next day, we met with the director first, understood what was going on, what was changing. And as I go to the group of the 12 girls, there's some other moms in there just basically like, my daughter came home in tears yesterday. So then I became this facilitator of like, this is how we're going to approach this today. This is what we talked through. And it became everybody just, we were all on the same page and everyone was so thankful that somebody spoke up because nobody wanted to speak up because everybody was stressed out. But I think there's a place when you're a parent or whatever role you take that sometimes you need to speak up, and it doesn't always have to be from a place of frustration. That can be the catapult that starts it. But like I said, what Todd taught me is you come from a place of helping and it's so well received and you get done so much more work, so much more effectively, and everybody feels really great about the win at the end. So proud of myself, proud of my daughter, proud of us as parents and what we could help facilitate to get her where she needed to be on stage, and that she came out of that performance feeling really, really great.
Yeah, I love that. Excuse me. First of all, sorry that I hit the music button. I don't know if you heard that.
That was like, hurry up, Jen, you're done. Opening take over.
No, we need one of those. But anyway, sorry, people, I hit the wrong button here. Anyways, I agree with everything you said. I had a past business mentor teach me that help first, and everything comes from a place of helping others. And when you do that, good things happen.
Mm-hmm.
There's a book by a past business mentor of mine, Chris Cooper, called Help First. You can pick it up online. I probably have a couple copies. If you're local, let me know and I'll get you a copy. But yeah, that always works. I always tell the story about the coffee shop. When I went in, there was a new coffee shop that opened in town. I really liked it. I really liked going there. And I noticed they had this big community board and everybody would go in and just put their business cards up. And I thought that's kind of an old school way of trying to take without giving,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and you're not helping anybody. You're just trying to help yourself when you do that. And I'm not knocking like community boards and stuff. I get it. The business put it up. So, but have you ever thought of how you can help other people? Like I went in and had a meeting with the owner of that place and I just sat down and said, hey, you know, I really like coming to your place. I'd love for you to succeed so that selfishly I can still come here forever as long as I want to. How can I help you? And she was like, what? Pretty sure she almost teared up at one point. And I was just like, well, there's so many people trying to get in front of your audience, but like, how can I get you in front of my audience? Like, how can I help you grow so that I can, again, continue to come here, you know? And since then, we've had a great relationship every time we bump into each other. It's nice to catch up and whatever, but it's more effective. And I'm not saying you don't go through the anger phase and all the, like, I'm going to tell this person where to go and all that. You still are going to work through that stuff. But because we
Mm-hmm.
spoke for like probably 90 minutes
Mm-hmm.
about it because we were both frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
Our daughter is in tears, and all we could keep thinking about is these other parents and these other children and who's going to step up. And you were like, I'm going to step up. And I was like, okay. And that immediately made me feel better about the situation.
Yeah.
So try it out next time you're frustrated. Try helping somebody and see how you feel.
Yeah. It
So
worked.
I have two quick ones here.
Okay.
My first one is that confidence isn't competence, especially when we're looking at things like through social media. You see a lot of people with large followings and they have tons of confidence, right? Because they have a ton of followers. But that doesn't necessarily mean they know what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
They could have absolutely no clue. I've seen so much bad business advice out there. I've seen so much bad life advice, general advice.
Mm-hmm.
When we had the pandemic, we saw a shit ton of really bad advice for businesses. But it was done by these big companies and these gurus and people that are sort of like self-appointed in charge of industries, you know? They don't really have any governing say over anything, but for some odd reason people listen to them, and a lot of businesses were hurt, to be honest. So
Yeah.
confidence isn't competence. My second one is that we need to stop. I said this to you the other day, Jen. It's happening in our salon. It's happening probably everywhere. We need to stop buying into these random sort of cliche sayings and things. You know, when people are like, oh, it's January, so it's just slow. I don't know who you're talking about. It's not slow. If you're slow, that's great, but it doesn't mean the whole world is slow. It
Right.
doesn't mean the whole industry is slow. It doesn't even mean the whole business is slow. So I overheard somebody last week say, you know, it's just slow because it's January, or it's just a slow time of the year. And I was like, is it? Because when I looked at the numbers, we were up over 43% from
Mm-hmm.
last January. And then I meant to compare month to month, but we had a big period of growth,
Mm-hmm.
and we did way more services in retail dollars in January than we've ever done.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, you know
I
my take on that, right?
yeah, go ahead though.
I think so. I think what happens is November and December are such busy times, no matter what you're doing. There's holidays. If your life is already busy, there's lots of extra things you have to do because of Thanksgiving and Christmas and whatever else you've got going on. So November and December are, for most people, extremely busier than other times of the year. So I think what happens is you come into January and yes, it's slower because you're not doing so many other things, but I don't necessarily know if it's as slow as you think it is. And I think if you're talking in the hair world, if you didn't do a lot to make sure you weren't slow in January, in November and December, which would be talking about other services, rebooking, whatever it needs to be, then next year you should make some mental notes or write down notes so that you are proactive during your busiest time so that those flood into what feels like slower because you don't have so much going on. I know for some it truly is slower, but I think for some it's just you have less going on, but it's still probably as busy as you might have been in like June or something, but it feels different coming off of a busy time.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I think my thought was that you should get out of that mindset, because if you're going to sit around and say that it's slow, then every January is going to seem slow.
Right. And then you're not going to do
And it's
stuff to make it
you're
not
just
slow.
right, you're just perpetuating it.
Yeah.
It's almost like, well, what are we going to do? You know, January is always slow. What are we going to do about
Right.
it? We can't do anything about it. And it's like you could do a lot about it. The
Yeah.
people in our salon that had a great month would disagree with the other people in
Mhm.
our salon that said it was slow because
Right.
they were really busy.
Right.
So it's either you can get busy, or no pun intended, either you can get to work trying to get yourself busier. You can approach, in our salon, for example, we're the leaders. So you can approach your leadership, whether that's a salon manager, a business manager, restaurant manager, wherever you work, and say like, hey, how can I'd like to make more money. I'm not feeling as busy. First of all, I would say, if somebody came to me with that, I would say, all right, let's look at the numbers, because I want to compare, like, what are we actually looking at?
Mhm.
Because again, when I looked at our numbers, we were up by a lot. So maybe you're having an off month. Why is that? Like maybe you were sick for 2 weeks, like, or whatever. And you can
Yeah.
take that out and you're like, so you weren't slow. You just weren't here for half the month. Like
Right.
you really, it's different for everyone. And I just wanted to point that out as an opening take, because I think it's dangerous to get into those mindsets of like, well, what can we do about it? It's just slow,
Right.
you know, or, well, the holidays will be busy. What if something happens where they're not busy? Don't bank on just that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yes.
either way. All right, let's jump into meetings real quick. I don't
Meetings part
even
2.
have notes. Yeah.
Well, let me
So
start then,
meeting.
because I have something that I think a lot of people might resonate with. Um,
Well,
I've run what?
first let's set up what we're talking about.
Yeah. Okay.
So just real quick, we ran our beginning of the year one-on-ones. They're really two-on-ones because Jen and I meetings last week, and we had some successes and some failures, and we're always learning, right? So
Mhm.
either way, and we want to share now. So we talked about what our plan was and how you can make meetings more effective last week on the podcast. So this week we want to follow up. We've actually run through them now and put them into practice and gone through and got everything. So now we can jump into some of that stuff.
Mhm.
All right, go. Sorry.
So I feel a lot of people go into meetings basically asking questions that are like, how are things going? And you get good. How is this going? Good. How are we doing? Good. And you're not really getting you're not at all getting any feedback that helps grow your business, grow the person you're speaking with, or do anything of anything with that information. So Todd came up with an amazing approach. We knew some of the issues we're having. Like any salon you're in, I'm sure you can all relate. Cleaning is always going to be something that's talked about, but I don't think it needs to be something that takes away time more often than not. So, how do you get people to think about cleaning? Because it'd be easy for people come in and they're just like, no one cleans, no one does this. So, you have to then figure out how do you get them to take responsibility for what no one does because they're part of the problem, everybody is. And how do you get them to be like kind of self-aware and reflect on the things that they may not be good at every day either, without hurting their feelings or making them feel defeated and making them not feel part of the team. So I think, you just listen in your salon, you'll know what things are your issues. It's very apparent. And there's always maybe pop-ups, which I welcome that too, because there's no way for us to make a better business in 2025 if we don't even have a clue what's going on. And it does require us asking certain questions and asking for constructive criticism on what Todd and I are doing as well. Maybe you talked about this in the last one, but so Todd had come up with, after realizing kind of we weren't as constructive in the first 2 meetings, a slew of questions and ratings that our staff, each person could. And it was the same questions for everybody. So we truly could have like a metric system on now, what do we want to do with this? What are we out of these meetings going to do, rather than everyone just sit there and tell us nobody does any of this X, Y, and Z stuff. And I will say, for me personally, we had one day, it was 7 hours of meetings. Going into them with these questions, I went in with a much better attitude and I looked forward to it because I was curious to see how they were going to answer it, where they were coming from. And I knew we had a constructive hour that we could spend and not just a bitch fest, which was not what we wanted, but can turn into that quickly. So with these questions that this year worked, next year will probably be a slew of different ones. We were able to drive the conversation, but let the stylist lead it also, or feel part of it, and not like we were just talking at them. It was amazing.
Thanks. So I had come up with a list of questions and different like things, and I'll describe what it looks like in a second for people listening. But what I did was during our first meetings, I was a little too relaxed, and I thought everything would just sort of come up at some point, and we would just like check it off as we went, and it didn't. And I realized we need to, and I'm admittedly out of practice with meetings. I actually think that meetings can be a great positive experience, but I also think that they can be a negative if people don't feel like they're accomplishing much.
Mhm.
And so I tend to stay away from meetings. I would rather you just tell me what you need and I'll get back to you when I can, and which is usually like within the day, and then we'll figure it out and move forward. I come from places where I've had to have lots of meetings, or people would be like, "Can we have a meeting about this?" And I'm like, "Why? Why can't we just talk right now? We're both here." Like, because not everything needs to be this big deal. So, um, the second round of meetings was excellent, and I will say it was far more effective,
Mhm.
and we wrapped them up pretty much within an hour. We had a couple that ran over because we were talking about some different things in education and some stuff that we're putting people into more leadership roles in our business. We maybe should have broken it up a little bit, because I think when they go long, you tend to like burn out, right?
Mhm.
Like, how long can I listen to this? But, and I will say, like you had mentioned people bitching. We don't have a lot of issues really in our business. We don't
Correct.
have people that are fighting. We don't have people that are arguing. So what do people look for? They have to have something to complain about, because, and I'm not talking about just our staff. This is, I think, human nature.
Yeah.
But you want to deflect. You go into a meeting, you're anxious, and you're like, what are they going to say about me that's bad? I
Mhm.
have to say something about someone else to deflect and get everything off of me.
Mhm.
So every single person is like, this person doesn't clean or whatever, not one. It's funny because this person thinks this person doesn't help out, and this
Mhm.
person thinks this person doesn't help out. And it's funny because they're all crossing, and what it does, what it showed us is that people just aren't really aware of their level. Like you said, some people think that their level of like cleanliness or cleaning, for example, is high, is like a 10, but it's not.
Mhm.
It's like a 2.
Right.
But they don't know if you don't show them. So
Right.
one of our questions was literally, do you understand what each item looks like? Like, do you understand when we say clean a mirror, what a clean mirror should look like? Because you can't have common sense. There's no such thing as common sense.
Mhm.
So if you write down, this is my closing list: clean your chair, put your blow dryer away, whatever, clean your mirror, put your products away, but you don't give them a standard of, this is what putting a blow dryer away looks like, this is what putting products away looks like, then they don't know.
Mhm.
You can't blame them for that. That's
Mhm.
on you.
Right.
So what we did I'm not going to give my whole list of questions because it might not relate at all to your salon. But what we did is we touched on first our mission, vision, and core values to make sure that, make sure people are aware of those things. And then we got into some rating questions where they had to rate themselves 1 through 10. And it might be like, rate yourself 1 through 10 on cleanliness, customer service, the effort you put into your appearance, blah, blah, blah. And then we had a bunch of yes or no questions. And we explained to them that we didn't care at all where
Mhm.
they rate themselves. So if you are like, you know what? I'm a 3. I have not been putting any effort into my appearance and how I present myself to clients at all. Great. How do we get you to a 3.5? How do we
Right.
get you to a 4? How do we get you
Yep.
to a 5? Um, if somebody said, I'm a 10, awesome. How do we now? So if you're a 10, that's a gold standard, is what you're saying. How do we raise the standard? How do we get you to an 11 and make that our new 10? That's our new baseline. If somebody said no to a question, do you know our business mission? Some people guessed and they were saying our core values, which is fine. Some people just said no. Some people said, yeah, of course. And then they said something and it was pretty freaking close, um, which shocked me. We had several people that were like I would say spot on, not
Yeah.
word for word, but they were spot on. And so it would just open the conversation to us. Like, again, I don't care if you say, no, you don't understand the business or you don't have the business mission memorized. I don't expect anyone to memorize stuff, but to know where it is and know about what it is a must,
And to know
because
why it's important, like how it affects what we're doing in our business so that they understand why it's there.
exactly. And we like to just touch base on that stuff because, like you said, why is that mission important to us?
Mhm.
Why is the vision important to us? And what are our core values do, and how do they serve us? And so I think a lot of light bulbs went off for our
Mhm.
staff, especially when we explained our vision, where we're like, you guys are in a way our clients.
Mhm.
Like, Jen and I want to take care of you guys so that you can see through our business mission, which is to take care of the client. Basically, we're in the
Mhm.
process of rewording this, so I'm not going to say what it is, but basically what it boils down to is taking care of the client. And the vision, our business vision, is basically, break it down real quick, is to prove our business model, because we do things way different at our salon than, I would say,
Most
probably
others.
90%.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe 80, 95%. I don't know. And it's also to serve our employees.
Mhm.
Like, how do we get them as far as they want to go? How do we help them reach their goals and dreams and beyond? How do
Mhm.
we challenge them? How do we push them? How do we support them?
Mhm.
And I think that stuff's really important, especially like, so two things. One, you want your staff to understand your vision and your mission and your core values, no matter what they are. But two, our vision, which I think I said earlier, a lot of light bulbs went off for people, is to take care of our staff, because you see a lot of stuff, especially on social media, where it's like, well, my staff just leaves and
Mm.
everyone's going to rent or whatever. And that's fine. You can be salty, but instead, what you could do is create something where people don't want to leave. There's
Mhm.
no really reason for people to leave. I've shown people time and time again how much money they can make, and it's up to you. It really is. It's not an overnight thing. Don't get me wrong. You and again, I don't want to turn this into a renting versus commission, because I think they're really ultimately the same exact thing. But I wanted to show our team too how much support they have, because
Right.
I know everyone says they're supportive, but when you go off and you're on your own, at the end of the day, it's on you,
Right.
because that's the choice you made.
Mhm.
And so what's the point of working in a freaking commission salon if you're not going to have the ultimate support team around you?
Correct. Correct.
And so that was the big part of what we pushed home in the meetings, because like Jen said, you're always going to have an issue. Like cleaning, every business I've ever worked
Yeah.
in, when I worked in restaurants, every business is always like, this person never does their roll-ups. This person never does their closing
Right.
work. This person never does this. And you're always going to have that. So it's, if you're complaining about somebody not cleaning to your standard, and that's the worst that you have, that's the worst complaint you have, then you're doing pretty freaking
Yeah.
good. And as a business
Agreed.
owner, if people are coming to you and they're complaining about cleanliness, but you look around and you're like, this place is really clean, I'm proud of this. If you can honestly say that you're proud of it, then good on you. Because again, people are always going to have some sort of issue, because you have to.
Mhm.
It's human nature.
Right.
We're set up for flight and fright, right? Or fight.
Mhm.
And we're always like on edge looking for like what's bad around us, because it's a safety mechanism, and it's
Mhm.
just how our brains are wired. But anyway, amazing set of meetings, and we still have two more to do with our esthetician team,
Yes.
and some more work to do, and a lot of great stuff came out of it.
Yeah, for
What
sure.
else do you have to say about those? I feel like I rambled forever.
I think it's just if you run meetings with your staff or your staff wants to go into a meeting with you, either way, to have some questions and have questions that can get you to the end goal. What are you trying to get out of the meeting? What are the points you need to make? And you need to make sure that you're moving the discussion in that direction so that the end result gets there and it's not literally just sitting around and just shooting the shit. That can be for a different time. And then I think
That's
now,
funny, because that's what you said in the last
yeah,
podcast.
yeah, I
You were
did.
like, it gives us time to shoot the shit, and I'm like,
No.
that's not going to go how we think it's going to go,
Yeah, no,
and it didn't.
it's not. So I mean, in 1 week, learned so much, right? And look at these meetings and some of the feedback we got, like from one of their staff, was just like, "We'd love to do these more often. Um, I get so much out of it. I leave here inspired. I'm excited to go back to work." And then a month like January, where a lot of people just kind of feel blah, we're setting them up for like to get going and get rolling the ball so that they're not into March and April and May and they're like, wow, I'm just really not doing anything. And then the idea of kind of quarterly meetings to touch base, and those will be quicker ones. Make sure that everything we took notes on is happening. Are you accomplishing it? If not, how can we help more? If you're blowing it out of the water, okay, now what do we need to do? So it really just set up the rest of the year for each person's plan. And they were individually part of that, which is really cool. Some people came to us with questions. I don't know if I'm ready for this or that. Okay, hold on. Let's run some numbers. We'll meet back in a little bit and we'll figure out sort of what does this look like for you this year and how can we get you there? It made for me feel like this year I'm excited, right? Like everyone's kind of got their own plan. They've all got to push here or there. They understand what we're doing, what we're putting in this year, what at 2025 looks like at Hello for education, for what expansions we're doing, for what we're adding. Everyone's on the same page. That's really, really important. And they were all efficient. Like some people, like that's an hour, but it went by so fast. There was so much that was needed to be accomplished. And we were accomplished and effective. So I guess just figuring out with those meetings, like how do you want to drive that conversation and how are you going to get there? For us, it was this time a list of questions and ratings, and it worked really, really well. And everybody left feeling empowered and excited. And that's what you want out of a team of people.
Yeah, and some of the questions, like I mentioned, are yes or no, because we wanted to get some information from our staff quickly and then spark their thought. But what I would suggest that you do is have some open-ended questions too, because you really don't want, like you're kind of alluding to, you don't want people to be like, good, hey, how's it going? How's everything going? How was your holiday season? Good. What are you excited about? Good. What is like something you want to work on this year? Everything. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you'll get those people to open up a little bit so that you can really then dive in and have some
Right.
conversations. Like
Because you can't do anything with
we
those answers.
no, if you're telling me everything's good, that's just you're
And it's not
just
true.
trying to pacify me. Yeah,
Yeah.
not everything's good. So have some open-ended questions too, and then really listen. So when our team was talking, some of them, like some of the stuff you're going to get seems very surface level, but still listen. Like, why
Mhm.
is this person sharing this with me?
Right.
This is obviously a concern to them. And if it's a
Mhm.
concern to them and you're trying to be of service to your team, then it needs to be a concern to you, or you have to figure it out because, like you said, in a lot of these meetings, it's not that someone didn't take out the trash that causes like the breakup. You know what
Right.
I mean? At home, I think you were relating it to
I
like a
always say
boyfriend
that. Yeah, it's not the
girlfriend.
trash is not why you broke up. It's all the conversations you didn't have before the trash wasn't taken out on that one day that led to the like, I'm done. So, we want to avoid that at the salon. We want to make sure we've had all these hard conversations or we've touched base. And if someone ends up leaving that we are like, we all really tried, this just didn't work out, or it never even gets there because we're always just making sure we're in a good place.
Definitely.
I think too that we ended that questionnaire. I think Todd had asked two questions about, how do you feel? I don't know exactly, and you can actually we probably have it right in front of you. Like how do you
I
feel,
don't,
Jen
but
and
I
I?
can look.
How do you feel, Jen and I? Did as leaders for you this past year? Is there anything we could have done better? And everybody was like, "You are great. There's nothing else you could do for me. You're amazing. You're amazing." And so, as a leader, you could sit there and be like, "Wow, thanks. Like, I'm amazing." Pat myself on the back. But I knew shortcomings that I didn't do for them. So then I shared that. It doesn't always feel good to be like, "Well, here's where I think I failed you this year. I didn't feel I measured up to blah 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 blah." They all heard what it was for me. And I needed to share that because I love that they all think we're doing amazing things, but my own self reflection. Here you are. I didn't do this. This is what I'm going to do this year. This is how I'm going to do this better. This is how I'm going to achieve these things for you guys that I feel need to be done this year. And so kind of went in with that, expecting that everybody was going to say we did a great job, but then shining some light on some things that I think we could do better so that, everybody's really just being as real as possible in these conversations.
So the question I sort of ended with there was, what if anything we've missed? So that
Hmm.
can be in the meeting or throughout the year, and then have we fallen short on any of your expectations?
Yeah, that's what
Like
it was.
the last thing we want is somebody to have expectations of us that we sort of put out there and um, not boast in a negative way, but sort of boast like, here's what we offer, here's what
Right.
we bring to the table, and the last thing we want to do is fall short on that
Right.
stuff. So they everybody across the board was like, you guys always handle stuff, as it comes up, blah blah blah. So it's everything is great, and I'm like, okay, well, not everything's great because, like you said, we've reflected on how we can be better,
Yeah.
and so. I just told them like we're not perfect and we're going to get there in a second, but let's finish this up. And then, yeah, you dove into the areas sort of that we fell
Yeah.
short on and why and what we're going to do about it.
Right.
So, and a big part of it too is just having like these conversations so that your team understands what's going on. Like, for
Mhm.
example, people would say, how are you going to do this stuff? You guys are already so busy. Or Jen, your schedule is already packed. How are you going to do this stuff? Okay, great. We've thought of that too. So here's where we're
Mhm.
taking time. Like, we're not going to devote time in this one area
Yeah.
because it doesn't serve us
Yep.
the way we need to serve this business.
Yeah.
And that's where the time is going to come from. Thank you for being aware that we're busy. You're busy
Right.
too. Everybody's
Right.
busy. We did a whole podcast on it.
Busy
Uh,
being busy. Yeah.
yeah, busy being busy, but it's true. Like when you own a business, you have three kids and you're a husband wife team. Yeah, the days get away from you and it's easy to miss stuff and it's easy to push stuff to back burners. And this year we challenged ourselves to be even more effective in our business and
Mhm.
see like, how can we really push this thing in 2025. And so we're starting with some I would say easy wins that we know are going to work. And
Right.
then from there, we're going to maybe push some people to do some things and get uncomfortable and really grow. And again, that's the support you get. So anyways, hope this helped.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else, Jen?
Nope.
All right. Thanks for listening, everyone. Get in our email list, 321 Pro Push, which is
They're
my
real good. Super inspiring.
oh, thanks. Get in there. I share a ton of the business stuff that we are actually doing. None of the
Mhm.
stuff in there is theory. It's all things that we've done or we've done at past businesses or have worked with through past business mentors or whatever.
Mhm.
And it's fun. It's a fun newsletter.
Yeah.
And if you want to talk to us, find us through some of the links in the show notes.
Yes.
All
We're
right.
here.
Have a great week, and we'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.